This afternoon's session is all about teaching the way 21st century students learn. Now, of course, if we are going to even engage in this workshop, we are actually assuming that we know how to learn, but good. A useful start point for us is to look at the question of empathy. Empathy is standing in somebody's shoes so that you can see the world from the way they see it. What we see there is that you can actually be standing there and you are seeing the number 6. And you can be so convinced that 6 is what you are seeing. The other one standing there could actually be seeing 9. There's nothing wrong with what you're seeing, except that we are seeing from different perspectives. You can argue about which number this is. You can be able to argue as to whether it is 6 or it is 9, or you want until Christmas. Until someone says, come over this side. Until somebody says, come over this side. Have a look at what I'm seeing. You will never reconcile this, because both perceptions are equally correct. When one talks about empathy, you are actually saying, how do I get to see the world from the other person's perspective? Because unless and until we can see the world from that perspective, we can't design for them. You can only design what you think they need, which may not be what they need. What we are going to do in this workshop, because it's a workshop, we're going to do things. But however, before we do things, we're going to have to really, now there are a few things that I really want to clear up right immediately as to what we're going to do in this workshop. We want to look at how we understand students learning and how we then begin to design for these learners and how we plan for change. How do you plan for change? We know that as much as we want it to change, change does not happen on its own. You've got to plan for change. You can't be able to say, I want to see things differently. You can say, I want things to be different. But until you plan for that difference and you act on that plan, all you have is a dream. Okay? Because it will never happen by itself. What I want us to do, only your mobile phones, if you are going to use a mobile phone, I want you to download an app called Flipgrid. If you are not on the mobile, if you want to use your desktop or your laptop, you can still be able to do that. But make sure that you've got a camera and you've got a mic working on your laptop. Otherwise, I know that all the modern phones, if you bought your phone in the last 10 years, it must have a camera and it must be able to have a mic. Okay. So download an app called Flipgrid. Flipgrid. Yeah. Flipgrid. It's an app. So go to your Google Play Store or Apple Store or wherever you download apps from. It's called Flipgrid. The fact that you are in this workshop, you do have expectations of what you want to get from this workshop. And also, what has been, in your experience of teaching with technology, what have you come across which you'll be able to say, that was a wow of teaching with technology? You know, it doesn't have to be from his conference, but which one is your wow of using of technology? You have 1 minute to just record a small video. You know, by clicking on this plus, just talk to that for 1 minute. It will be timing you that 1 minute is actually out. Okay, so it's just 1 minute. It will time you out. Just say, my expectation for this workshop is blah blah blah. My wow moment of using technology was this and this and this. Okay, just could you do that? How many of you have managed to get in so far? 1, 2. Okay, everyone is in. You know, most of you are in. Okay, so just do that. We'll create a little bit of chaos in here because everyone is going to be saying something.
It's going to be a little bit muffled.
Yes, which is good. Yeah, it is okay. It is okay. Yeah, it's going to be like that. But you know, what you do is, if you get closer to your phone and just talk to that, it is going to be you talking to that. Let's create that chaos. It's part of the fun. Okay.
What's the expectations are?
Yeah, what your expectations are and what your wow moment was of using technology. So you can do that. It's just about, yeah, it's 1 minute. 1 minute is not a long time, but it can be long. It's not a long time, but it can be long. Yeah. What I want you to notice here is that if I want to gauge where my students are at in terms of their understanding of a concept, or I want to get students to reflect on their understanding of what I've just taught, or I can ask students to use Flipgrid to have a conversation on any kind of topic, or I could be able to say, use Flipgrid to introduce your presentation. Okay? You can go to do that. What I've done with Flipgrid, for example, I've used Flipgrid to get teachers or pre-service teachers on their first day. I asked them a question, so why have you chosen this career? Why do you want to do this? Okay? And then they use Flipgrid. So each one user speaks about why they have chosen that field. And then there is lots of conversation there on why they have chosen to do that. The other thing is that you can be able to then play these videos. And believe you me, the quality of these videos is very good. Okay? You'll be able to see the quality of these videos. The other thing is that you can download each of these videos. You can download it. So your own video, you can download it. Okay? And indeed, you can download anyone's video and put it anywhere else. Okay? So you can do that. So the power and the affordance of doing things like this becomes almost unimaginable. You know, you are limited by what you can think in terms of what you can apply this thing for. The other thing is this: reflective learning is one of those things that is critical in education, because what you really want to do, there is no much point in teaching, and there's no reflection. Reflective learning is critical. How would you ever provide spaces for reflection? You don't have time to allow, personally I don't have time to allow 40, 50 students for each one of them to say something in class. I mean, where are you going to get the time to do that? Okay? Because if I allow 40, 50 students to say something, that will be all we'll do that day. Okay? Because by the time they are done, we would have actually finished the lesson. Okay? Now, what you really want to do is that Flipgrid allows one to flip the classroom. Okay? Because I can be able to say, post your video comment about this before coming to the class today. Okay? Because they can do that. Okay? Or post your comments about this reflection of what has happened now, about this and this, just as you leave. So I would have actually finished my lecture and the students can actually continue doing this. So that's an example of how you go about using technology and appropriating technology for good use, particularly in fostering interactions. The other thing that is obvious here to say is that these videos that students create here persist, okay? In other words, unless they are deleted, they will stay there until the end of the year when you can be able to reflect on how students have actually learned over time, okay? Because that also becomes useful. If we don't have that, the question is, how do you foster reflections? There will be no way of fostering reflections other than writing. Now we know that writing is something that you learn. It's a skill that you acquire through some kind of learning process. And we know how long it has taken you to be an author or to be a writer. But being able to speak is very natural. You know, being able to speak is very natural. Flipgrid can empower marginalized voices. Students without a voice can immediately acquire a voice to say something which you have never heard before as an academic staff because they're always quiet. Okay? Flipgrid gives everyone a chance because everyone has got something to say. What we could actually be able to then say is that an ingredient for any edutech change is to have some form of dislike the way things currently are. To create a picture of a better desired future and put steps in place, and then you leave and celebrate every milestone. I found that on Twitter. Right. So, what this means is this. If you are going to have to change anything, particularly in edutech or indeed almost in anywhere, there is no much point in changing the status quo if you like the status quo. You never change what you like and love. Why would you? You will never change that. So the start point to change anything is to have some dislike of the status quo. Now, you would be able to, immediately you are in the comfort zone where your status quo is your future. In other words, in your status quo, if the status quo is your future desired state, I'll talk about the future desired state. But if your future desired state is your status quo, is your present, there's nothing to change. Because you have arrived, why would you change anything? The reason why there is hope that we can change something in student learning, and the start point for us to even begin to want to change something, we need to come from the premise of not liking the status quo. I mean, there must be something about the way things are that we don't like. I don't know whether I can overemphasize that. You understand the point? Okay? If, for example, you tell me that everything is okay, oh, everything is fine, we are fine here in Durban, we are super fine, then there's nothing to change. Absolutely nothing to change. Why would you change? So, that is one. The other thing is, we did some kind of work, don't worry about the wording of this, I'll explain what is going on there. We did some kind of work on trying to understand how educators teach and in relation to their awareness of the possibilities of technologies. So what we did was to try and look at is there a relationship between the way people teach with or without technology and their awareness of the possibilities of technologies. Put the other way, do you teach the way you teach because you don't know about the possibilities that technologies can offer? That is the other way of putting it. What we did then, we actually had two quadrants, x-axis there and the y-axis, where this one here is about the way teachers teach, okay? And I'm using the word teachers teach here to include educators, both in higher ed to schooling, okay? The way teachers teach. That. And then we have that vertical to do with their awareness of the use of technologies. From non-use or zero awareness to high awareness, okay? And here going towards teacher-centric methods of teaching, very traditional. They are very traditional. Come in front of the class, chalk and talk, okay? And books, listen to me, talk, chalk, and books, and students almost no activity, no response there. That's here is about learner-centric approaches there, okay? Where you design almost all the time, your kind of practice is to design for learner interactions, learner engagement, get learners involved in the learning process. That is that side, okay? What we actually saw was that in this quadrant A, it is very teacher-centric and no use of technology or zero awareness of technology here in this quadrant. So very traditional, teacher-centric, no use of technology. Here is teacher-centric because it's this side, teacher-centric, high use of technology, but the technology is in the hands of the teacher here. So the teacher is the one who has technology, and he uses technology a lot, but it is the teacher who uses the technology. Here, it is learner-centric, no use of technology because it's done, no use of technology, but very learner-centric. So learners do stuff, they don't use technology, but they do lots of group work, they do lots of activities like that, but there is no use of technology. There is almost, as you go up, there is a little bit of use of technology as you go up. In the same quadrant, you can go a little bit of use of technology, but it starts from no use of technology. What you have in quadrant C is very learner-centric, and high use of technology. In this quadrant, the technologies are in the hands of the students in quadrant C. So technologies here are in the hands of the students. Technologies here are in the hands of the teacher. So the teacher is the one who comes in class, I show things here, and you watch, and I wow you, but I show things here. You do nothing. You do nothing. I do stuff. That is this quadrant. I do a lot of stuff. My students do nothing. In this quadrant here, my students do things. What we have done here this morning with Flipgrid is an example of quadrant C. Okay? And I could not just talk about quadrant C without you experiencing quadrant C. Okay? I mean, you could be asking me, what is quadrant C? What exactly do you mean by quadrant C? What we did here with Flipgrid is what quadrant C is about. Technologies, they leave the teacher. Technology is not in the hands of the teacher. So in quadrant C, the teacher recognizes that students have got devices or they need to do things with their devices. It's learner-centric because you could see people's videos. The learners could see each other's videos. Because I can now be able to design another activity and say, you go and listen to students' reflections on Flipgrid and write a piece. Okay, write a one-page piece and reflect on this and submit that. I can do that because I'm now building on their own content created by user-generated content. Co-production of knowledge. Are we on the same page? Okay. And that is what we need to do. That's how we need to be thinking, and that's how we are going to move forward. We need to be able to ensure that we move from being A quadrant teachers. We can move from A quadrant teachers. For some of us, we need to move from being A quadrant teachers to D quadrant teachers. Others need to move from A quadrant teachers to becoming B quadrant teachers. Others need to move from B quadrant teachers to become C quadrant teachers. Different kind of things that we teach may necessitate different positioning. There are certain kind of things that we teach. You might say, for what I'm trying to teach today, I need to be here, and then once I'm here, I must flow here, and flow there. The worst position to be in is to be a single quadrant teacher who can't know when to move in different quadrants because you are limited. What that means is that you don't have to be a locked-in educator in one quadrant. But you will be unfortunate if you can't move across different quadrants because you don't have technological, pedagogical knowledge. This framework that I've just talked about, we published that framework in the British Journal of Education Technology in 2016. My student and I, we published that. What has happened with that framework, the one I've just described, the Department of Basic Education, because we have tested this framework over and over with educators. We have tested this framework I've just talked about. We have researched this, we have tested it, and we know it works. And almost, we could not find an educator who we could not explain using this framework. Almost every educator could fall in somewhere. I don't know. Can you see yourselves in the framework? You see, every educator could somehow be located somewhere. Now, this framework, the Department of Basic Education has taken our framework and they have built what they call a professional development framework for digital learning based on our framework. Okay? And this framework now, which has been put together based on this framework, this is what it looks like in the revised framework incorporated, captured by the Department of Basic Education. They have a quadrant called pedagogy. Remember the pedagogy? They have a quadrant called awareness and use of digital tools, going that way. They now say, when you are in this quadrant here, which is the A quadrant, limited use of digital tools and resources, but potential limited by pedagogy. What they are saying there, if you are teaching in a very traditional way, without technology, you're actually teaching. That's what they're saying. You are teaching, which is well done. You are teaching. When you go in a learner-centric quadrant there, quadrant B, where there's learner-centric, where learners are doing things, you don't have to have technology in quadrant B. You know, learners are using technology. They say that that's where learning happens, when learners are learning from one another and engaging with one another. They call that learning. So if you're not doing that, It's possible, therefore, from this understanding that you can teach without learning happening. Yes? I mean, we can infer from this that it's possible to be in this quadrant teaching without learning. It is possible to teach without learning happening. I mean, we can infer from this understanding. What they have also done is that this quadrant here, where the technology is in the hands of the teacher, and the teacher is wowing students, they say that's digital teaching. Because you are teaching, you are using digital. But who is benefiting is the teacher. The teacher is wowing students with the digital. Very nice for the teacher. Okay, that's digital teaching. In this quadrant here, where tools and devices are in the hands of the learners, and you, as an educator, you design learning activities. Remember, you design learning activities. And learners do things using the tools that they have in their hands. In quadrant C, it's called digital learning. That's where digital learning happens. It also means that this is e-teaching, this is e-learning. It's digital. E-teaching, e-learning. Many people do talk about e-learning. They say, we are doing e-learning. What we are doing is e-learning. Are you really doing e-learning? You are doing e-teaching. You are doing e-teaching. Now, this is important because it helps us to begin to think differently about how we understand the digital space and digital learning. Let me also mention about what we did with our framework, which is called the teaching change framework, this very framework. Remember what the department has done is that they have removed the A, B, C, D, because they said, well, teachers won't understand A, B, C, D. Let's give them names like teaching, learning, digital teaching, digital learning, because then they will understand that. What we did with that was that, well, this is the name of the framework, which is currently being rolled out nationwide. What has happened with this, what we did with this, the teaching change frame is used as a diagnostic tool. In other words, any educator can use our framework, this teaching change frame, to identify where they are in their teaching. They can say, yes, I am there. Remember, when I just talk about the framework like this, although you can see yourselves, you can say you are in this quadrant. What the framework also does is that it helps you to clearly place a finger on where you are. What we did with the framework was that teachers would use our framework, identify where they are, and identify where they want to go, where they are and where they want to go, which quadrant do you want to go, and then we would design sandpit sessions, sandpit events for the teachers to shift them, to take them there. Because, what's the value? What is the whole point in you visiting your doctor and your doctor finding that you are sick and the doctor does nothing about it? What's the point? The teaching change frame is a diagnostic tool. It helps you to identify where you are. Then it helps you to say, this is where I want to go. Then we design a pathway to help you get there. Okay? This was the original implementation of the teaching change frame. What the Department of Basic Education has done, this is what the department has done. They've taken this teaching change frame. Isn't that a good thing when you have done research and it's being used in the real world? Right? Ultimately, that's the idea, isn't it? That's what the point is, Okay. So this is exactly what we have here. What the department have actually done with our framework, they've not only put that like that in a document, they have also designed a tool which would help an educator to place themselves and also to place themselves where they are and to identify where they want to go, and then it recommends the different kind of training that you need to get there. This is the kind of training that you're going to need. I want you to just experience what this tool does. So you go to this URL. Go to this URL and you will see, I want you to have a feel of how this teaching change frame will place you where you are in those quadrants. Okay? How it works. And it's not only going to place you where you are, it is going to help, you are going to identify where you want to go, and then it will make a recommendation of what you need to do to get there. Okay? Once you have gotten that, once you've gotten that, I want to just take you through what you need to do when you get there. First, get to the URL. You're going to see something like this. How to plot your professional learning pathway, teaching change frame. Okay. Now you note here that a disclaimer here. We did not develop this. A disclaimer. We did not develop this. This tool, we developed the framework. We developed the framework on which this is based. I'm sure there's a difference. I'm not trying to say that when you have something good to say about this framework, please don't thank us. We didn't develop the tool. We developed the thinking behind it. Okay. So once you go there, it's going to take you things like, what is the teaching change from? You don't have to worry about that, I've already explained. So the teaching change from I've already explained, so you don't have to worry about what is it. Okay? Now, plot my position, that's what you need to do. Go to plot my position. It's going to take you through a series of questions. There will be two. May I just gauge whether people are trying to engage with this? You are trying to engage with this, okay? Yeah.
Yeah, there's an example.
Oh, sorry, it just came with this.
Now, for your purposes, you don't have to be super accurate. You see what I mean? You don't have to be super accurate because that's not the point. The point is not really, you are not necessarily being asked to really self-diagnose yourselves. Because I mean, that's not what the idea is of this workshop. The idea of this workshop is to get you to understand what is going on out there and how that begins to impact on what you can do practice. Okay? So here, once you click on that, it's going to take you through two kinds of set of questions. One is going to be the pedagogy. First, we will plot your position for pedagogy, okay? That is that pedagogy. Remember that pedagogy thing. So it's going to plot your position for pedagogy, okay? And then once it's done that, to do that, it's going to ask you a series of questions. You say yes or no. There will be the first set of questions. If you say no to those questions, it's going to give you another set of questions. Questions like this, okay? Okay, then once it has plotted you there, it's going to plot you on that scale. which is the awareness and use of digital tools. It will ask you questions like, does this description accurately describe you as a teacher? It's saying, as a teacher, are not hardly aware of the opportunities offered by digital tools and things like that. So it's asking you a series of these questions, and then it says to you, yes or no. Okay, I'm showing this for those that haven't managed to get to it. So it's going to say yes or no. If you say, no, it doesn't describe me, I'm not that, it's going to bring another set of questions. And then if you say, no, that's not me, it's going to bring another set of questions. Until you say, yes, that is me. Then it stops asking those questions about the pedagogy. Then it starts asking you questions about your awareness on that axis. Then it asks you a set of questions. Does this describe you? You say no. It asks you another set of questions until you say yes. When you have actually said yes to all that, then it says to you, make a note of this position here. This is where you are. Okay, this is your current position, for example. So the tool then says, this is your current position. Based on the way you've answered those questions, that is you. Okay? Then the tool says to you, where now do you want to go? I'm here. Where do you want to go? Then you say, I want to be here. I want to be somewhere there. And then it says, it tells you that you are in this learning, you are in the learning quadrant. Your main need is greater awareness and access to digital resources. It's saying what you need if you want to go to become a digital learning. You want to go to digital learning quadrant. It tells you that. It also then says that if indeed this is where you want to go, so this is where it says that. So you pick a spot, because you might be here, but then you want to go there. Okay? You teach learner-centric, but you don't use technology and you don't know how to teach with technology, so you might want to go there. So you actually plot yourself there, and then it then recommends for you what you can be able to do, the different kinds of things that you can do as interventions for you. These are interventions for you. Remember, before our framework, and this is why this thing has become an important thing for the department. Before our framework, many educators were busy attending professional development workshops, shooting in the dark, hoping that it will shift them. Hoping that when I attend this course, it's going to shift me, but they didn't know where to shift. They didn't know whether it's going to be relevant for where, in other words, just attending all these things, practice remains the same. You can do this and this, but practice remains the same because it's not targeted at shifting anything. Because you are trying to shift, because maybe you want to shift, but you are just shifting. It's like you're just shifting. You want to shift, but you are just shifting. See, now, you can't do that. You don't have time to do it. You want to have purposeful, targeted shifting. You want to be able to say, I am here, I want to go there. My professional development path should lead me there. Very well planned, targeted. That does not just happen. You need to think about that. You need to have tools to help you to do that. In this case, this is what this framework does. Can I proceed?
Yes.
What I want us to do now, I want us to actually do some work. What I want us to do is go to this URL. It's going to open for you a Google Doc. And we're going to spend some time working on that. Okay? Yeah. We are going to work. We are going to do some time. We are going to spend some time working on that. This Google Doc. Open the Google Doc. It's a Google Doc. The time we have, we're going to spend some time working on this. We need to find ways of avoiding just shifting. That's the URL there. That's the URL. You're right in there? Yes. If you arrive in there, you would see something that looks like that. What I want us to do, it's a workshop. We can afford to have fun. I want us to use traditional methods of just giving ourselves numbers. Can we start here? 1, 2, 3, 4,
6, 7,
8,
10, 12, 13,
18,
19, 20,
21,
22, 23, 24, 25,
26,
27.
28,
29.
29. Good. Now you know your numbers. What you do here, scroll right to your number. Go to your number, put your name, and optionally you can share your email address if you know. But put your name there. Go to your number, please. And here, so you share your name. Here, what do your students, how do your students learn? Okay. Now, what is it in your view for what you teach? Just tell us a little bit about what that is that you teach. Share with us how you think those students learn. Okay? Under your number. Okay? I want to spend time talking about how that the example that I gave of the teaching change frame does spell out a problem or a challenge for which it was responding, and that is trying to avoid just doing things randomly. Okay? So that there is some kind of a plan. The kind of plan I want to talk about here is how do you plan for a commitment to change in the e-learning sphere. Okay, how do you do that? What we have here are the 5 basic steps of design thinking. And we are going to use design thinking. How many of you are familiar with design thinking? How many of you are familiar with design thinking principles? No? 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 Okay. So design thinking originated at Stanford. And Stanford Design School. And they've used design thinking in many different, for many different projects, for different things. One of the things that they have not necessarily used design thinking for is mapping out the different ways in which you can be able to change. How do you map out a plan to actually change? There's lots of possibilities of using design thinking to do it, and that's what we use design thinking for. The 5 steps in design thinking are empathy. That's the first one. Remember the first slide in this workshop was about empathy. That is where you start from. Empathy. When I ask you a question like, how do you think your learners learn? What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to understand how students learn from your world, from your perspective, from your side. Not from the way I think, not from the way I understand, not from the way I thought I understood how students learn. I want to empathize. I want to be able to see the world from the way you see it. That's empathy. You get it? The next thing is about define. And I'll talk about each of these. Empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and then you test. What I'll do is just to talk about each of those and spell out just what that means. To empathize, you need to ask a question, where are we and why we must change? Where are we now and why must we change? You see, to empathize, you need to be able, particularly if you're designing a plan for yourself and for your department or for your institution or for your island, you need to ask these kind of questions. Where am I? Where are we? And why must we change? If you don't ask that question, you will not know where you are. Remember, if you consult GPS to take you somewhere, the first thing GPS would want to do to help you is to locate where you are. Is that not? Mm-hmm. Tell me GPS will never help you if it doesn't know where you are. It doesn't matter how smart and how intelligent it is. Knowing where you are is a start point. And the reason why we use GPS is because we want to go somewhere, and somewhere specific. GPS will not take you if you say, I want to go somewhere nice. If you say, GPS is not going to help. I want to go somewhere very nice. You can't be guaranteed that even the smartest tool can fail to help you if you don't know where you are and where you want to go. That is the reason why being able to do that kind of self-assessment becomes useful. And it is tough for those that work to support other people to get somewhere. If the ones that are being supported to get somewhere, they don't know that somewhere. Because then you just be maintaining the status quo. And maintaining the status quo doesn't move anything any different. That's an important start point. Once you have done that, the next point is where we are going and what it means to us. You see, you need to know, first and foremost, where you are and to have some sense of dislike of where you are. You remember, some sense of dislike. You must be uncomfortable with where you are. Otherwise, there's no journey. You might as well have a holiday at your backyard if you have no dislike of spending one there. So you must have a little bit of some kind of dislike to make a change or to move something. You know? And here, defining is about where are we going and what does it mean. It's all about having a reason to go and being able to stay focused on that reason to go. Because it is that reason to go that is going to keep you going. Do you understand? The next thing we want to do is to ideate. Ideate is all about how will we get there. It's about soliciting ideas of how to get there. Remember, there are many, many ways to get there. But you won't get there unless you know where there is. Okay? You know, you must have some understanding of where there is so that you can start planning of how to get there. And then here, you need to solicit different kinds of ideas of getting there. And that is where copying comes in. Copying the things you like. You know, imitation. Identifying people that are doing things that are similar to where you want to go. Okay? And then you need to do that so that you can actually position yourself in that kind of direction. What we need, so what we do by ourselves and where we need help, that can only happen if you have clearly identified how you want to get there. Remember how you want to get there. The challenge is that you need to get there with what you have to get there, so that when you're asking for other people to help you, you are not saying, help me get there, and I can't even move, not even 1 centimeter. In other words, you must be wanting to get there so that people can support you in getting there. And that is after I was chatting to somebody over lunch who said to me that, you see, the problem we have is lack of infrastructure. Because we don't have connectivity, we don't have this, and we don't have that. And I said, what if you had? What would you do? What if you had? What would you do? Because now, when you have, that's when you'll be thinking about what are we going to do. Now, what are we going to do when we have? Because often the challenge doesn't lie in what we don't have. The challenge lies in what we can do with what we have. Because if we can be able to demonstrate value, we can demonstrate of what we can do with what we have. And we argue differently then, because then we are going to argue that we want to scale this up. We can only reach 10 people, 20 people with the kind of thing we have. We can show you what we are doing with what we have. So the reason why we need more of that is because we can scale up, but this is what we have to scale up. That's a different argument. It's not the same argument as saying we don't have, so we can't do anything. That is not the same argument. I don't know whether I'm making a point, but I hope you get my point. The other thing that you want to do is to prototype, create models of desired future and showcase them. If you have seen most of these architects when they are building, or engineers when they are making a new building or a new construction, have you seen them? They put a picture, an image of what this thing is going to look like. You have seen it?
Yes.
Yes. They put it there. And you pass there all the time and say, wow, this is going to look, you can't wait when this is complete. You can almost tolerate the construction because you are looking forward to this thing. What is going to stand there? There is a reason why they work like that. Maybe because so that they don't end up building something else. No, right. See, it's not because they might end up doing something else. No. Okay. They need to put their vision out there because they are working towards that. Every day they go for work, you can see they are busy there. But this thing doesn't look like anywhere closer to this thing. You know, they are busy working, sweating there every day. And then you look at what they are sweating about, and this image, there's a big difference. It's nowhere closer. Have you seen that? It's nowhere closer, but they've got an image, they're working towards something. Okay? It's not any different from us. When we are working towards something, we need to be clear. And this somehow does apply not just at work, but it applies in almost every sphere. You need to be able to be clear about your goals and set those goals. Put it out there. Make sure that the desired future, you can spell the desired future there, because that's what will keep you going, even when you're not seeing it yet. Okay? And this, you need to do in EduTech.
Okay.
In EduTech, you need to do that. In any other sphere, you need to do that. You can see there are lots of things that you can be able to learn from. Yesterday, I drove past the Children's Hospital in Cape Town. And one of the things I saw was that the fence of the Children's Hospital, there are these images that they've actually put there of happy kids, happy children, healthy kids. And they've put that just on the fence there. When you drive there, you actually look at the kids. They're healthy, jumping, and that's what they've put there. And I said to myself, this is a hospital. It's a children's hospital. The kids that they have put there is the ultimate, is the final product of what this thing is aimed to do. Okay? That when you come there, this is what our end goal is. To produce, or at least to have our products, or the outcome of being here at the hospital will be these healthy kids playing and happy, running around. Okay? That is important. Because if we don't do that, there are so many things that can just make us feel that we can't achieve our goals. The next thing we want to do, according to this design principle, is to test. Build on what works. You need to build on what works. All of us do have things that works and it doesn't work. Build on what works. There's no much time, wasting time, even, on things that don't work. Learn from the things that don't work. But look, your effort and your energies must be directed towards the things that work. And build on the things that work. If you want to read more about that, read about appreciative inquiry. Appreciative inquiry, which is premised on identifying things that work and harnessing that, building on things that work. That's what you want to do. It's not that you're avoiding things that don't work. But believe you me, there will always be lots of things that don't work. The final thing that we want to do is to build what you call milestones. Milestones. What we mean by milestones are that even when you have an end goal, a big end goal, you need to be able to put in place things like this. You see, when we reach here, or when we reach here, we will know that we have at least achieved something. It doesn't look like the way it's going to look like when it's finished, but at least we've achieved something. When we reach here, we would have achieved something. Milestones put in place reasons to celebrate your success. You need to celebrate every milestone that you achieve en route to the final thing. Okay? Because otherwise, you will spend forever without your celebration. Always ensure that you have reason to have a cake. Have a reason to actually celebrate. You must be able to say, we haven't finally, we haven't reached there yet, but see, this is a step in that direction, and we want to celebrate. And doing things like that, you'll be surprised that you'll be happier working on the change process. And also, you won't be despondent because you haven't come to the end. Because there'll be so many moments of laughter and fun en route to that, as opposed to becoming so despondent because you're waiting for the day when this building is going to be finished and the ribbon is put there for you to actually throw a party. Never do that. What I want us to do as a final activity, how much time do we have? 5 minutes. Something like that. Something like that. As a final thing we do, let's get back to that document. Our document of Word, the one we're working on now. Let's get back to it. Assuming that the internet is now covered. When we get there, I want you to scroll down that document. Scroll down the document and you find scroll down the document. That page, what does it say? Yes, developing a realistic plan. Go to your number. You don't have to enter your name anymore. You don't have to do that. Just go to your number and then respond to those columns. Okay? Where are we and why we must change? Just fill in those. We've talked about them, but just complete them in there. Okay? Okay, I will let you, you can continue doing that and you can be able to finish that when you have a moment to do it. Finally, what I want us to do as a final thing is just to reflect on what has been your highlight for you from this workshop. You know, what has been your highlight? What has come through for you from the workshop? What we'll do, let's go back to our flip grade. Go back to your flip grade and just reflect on what was your wow moment. What was your wow moment? What have you learned? What has been your reflection? Okay. So just get there, back there on your flip grade, and we'll be done. Okay.